All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, all honor, all glory to the Heavenly Father and His Son, Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles, elders at Great Millstone. Salutations to the elect members who are scattered to the four winds of the earth. All right. Of course, the 144,000. All right. And the multitude of believers, all right, who are calling upon the name of the Lord, Yahweh Shai, in these last and evil days. All right, as the scriptures say, there's no other name whereby men shall call upon, all right, for salvation. All right, roughly paraphrasing. Okay. And so this lesson, quick lesson again, and it's dealing with white fragility. Okay. And I'm going to read a little bit about what it is. Okay. I'm sure, brothers might have ran into this, but this is a term that Esau is using because they can't take the treachery of their doings, of their track record in the earth. And whenever it's brought up, it brings Esau anxiety, and that's scriptural. All right. It brings them much anxiety, and rightfully so. All right, because they have fared in this world uh very much so, very sumptuously, uh and are, and have benefited from uh the turmoil that the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American man, woman, and child had to suffer under their rule. All right, they benefited in this society. Okay, and now it's coming to kick them right in their, their derrieres. It's coming to kick them back in their butts, you know, and they can't take it. They can't take it. So white fragility. Okay, everything you need to know about white fragility. White people in the United States have protection from racial stress. Engaging in conversations about racism may trigger a range of defensive actions, feelings, and behaviors such as anger, fear, and silence. So why would you be so angry about something that you have done? Unless you're just a narcissist. All right, and when you're called out on your shit, all right, you get very defensive. All right, the number one thing, the natural reaction is to acknowledge your offense, but you're dealing with the devil. All right, so they have all these feelings whenever topics of racism come up. Um, the things that were done by their hand, and that they have been uh, molded and bred to do, and certain things they say and how they think in society is, it all comes from racism. It all comes from racial prejudice and hate towards the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native American. Esau is the only race of people, the so-called white man. All right, Esau. All right, is the only race of people on this earth who, you know, who criminally does things to people, and he feels as though that they don't have to be reproached for it. Well, you know, too bad. The Lord is reproaching you. Okay, so they're feeling all of that feelings of and behaviors such as anger, fear, and silence. Right? It says although white fragility is not racism, it may contribute to racism by dismissing white domination and racial conditioning. Right? And they've conditioned the world, into to these belief sets that uh, the so-called Negro, so-called, we're black, and they the one that made up these terms, white, which though that's white is a social construct. Okay, and we know about that as well. All right, white fragility refers to feelings of discomfort. All right, a white person experiences when they witness discussions around racial inequality and injustice. Right, you would think a person would try to want to fix these, but it's like, again, you're dealing with self-absorbed, very uh, self-centered, covetous, maniacal, malicious, evil people. All right, and they don't have sympathy. As the scriptures say, they cast away their bowels. So they cast away their empathy and sympathy for others, and really nobody else matters except for the so-called white plight. It says and now they're crying. It's cries of them being oppressed by the reality coming back to hitting them in their faces. It says, for example, people of color may find it difficult to speak to white people about white privilege and superiority. The white person may become defensive, and the person of color may feel obligated to comfort the white person because we live in a white dominated environment, which is true somewhat. I mean, not somewhat, shit. It's very true. It says white fragility differs from both white privilege and white supremacy. White privilege refers to the fact that white people have advantages in society that others do not, and that's true. All right, they've been had advantages. Okay, they were able to create certain laws to undermine and exploit other races, like welfare, like other things that they put in, child support, the prison industrial complex, and laws that they set up in place. Highly frisking, so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans in cities. Stop and frisk. That's what they call it. But it's uh, it's targeting, what they would call minorities more than anything. All right, because what they want to fill the prison system up with us, all right, the so-called Negro, Latino, and Native Americans, and put us in despair, and take away, certain opportunities when, you served your time. There's laws that hinder a person from getting a job after you get arrested, and yeah, so it's very unfair in this society, and they don't, whenever you bring it up, they cringe, they can't take it, they get all this stress. But hey, you got a whole lot more to worry about than that, because what's gonna happen, man? You're gonna go from the top of the food chain to the bottom of the food chain, and you're gonna go from being treated like royalty to being treated like the servants. All right, uh, in the future world to come, it says white supremacy is the belief that people with white skin are superior, right? And you have guys like Francis Galton in the Galton Institute, all these different institutions that was pushing these narratives. All right, you even had the guy, what's this dude, the father of eugenics? I forget his name. I don't know how, but um, I forget it. Maybe it'll come back. White fragility triggers, right? It says racial stressors may cause a range of defensive behaviors and emotions. All right, and they cater to their emotions rather than what's true. White people may act in certain ways when people of color discuss racism, which it just shows you the covetous, empathetic, lack of sympathy that the so-called white man Esau Edom has towards others, other than outside of themselves. Their reactions may include anger, fear, guilt. All right, which this is the Lord's doing. All right, okay. As the scriptures say, God is not mocked. All right, let's get that. That which a man soweth, that shall he also reap. All right. All right, Galatians 6 and 7, it says, be not deceived, God is not mocked, for whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. Right, and what the so-called white man has sown was rape, robbery, and murder. And now it's coming to the point where he's being called out on that shit in this time and age. All right, because that shit was it was really ill natured towards humanity. All right, towards you tribe. So you're being reproached for it, because what you sow, all right, it comes back to you. All right, that's just one of the laws that the Lord has set up. All right, that's one of the laws of nature. Damn it. All right. It says arguing, silence, leaving the stress inducing situation, right? By behaving in ways. In this way, white people may prevent people of color from attempting to talk about racism with them. And they've been doing that shit for the longest, but you can't stop with the Lord, the reproach of the Lord. All right. You know, we had to swallow the cup of the Lord. We had to deal with his indignation. We had to deal with the shame. Until this day, we have to deal with the shame when we go around white people and how white people dismissive, passive aggressiveness. Uh, uh, is very shameful to be around. You know, certain Edomites and stuff like that. You may feel a certain shame, but for you so-called Negroes and Latinos and Native Americans, that's what you call the reproach of the Lord. Right, and you really don't understand your plight, if you don't understand that, because that's all the Lord. All right, different sources of racial stress that white people can experience may come from a person claiming that a white person's views are racist, which in most cases it is because they've been born and bred to think a certain way, to have that superiority complex. Because the Lord, at the end of the day, is the Lord that gave them that confidence. It's the Lord that put them on top of the world. All right. And so that they have that confidence, all right, which they were born and bred in, all right, because this society, America, the Western civilization, is a hotbed for inequality, prejudice, and hatred. All right, that's what this place was brought up on. All right, and what do you think is the after effects? All right, it says a person of color talking about their racial experiences and perspectives. Right. So so white, how are you gonna get stressed out because somebody is talking about what they have experienced? All right. You see, that's very insensitive. It's very unempathetic, and that's you got the so-called white man. But guess what? So who's gonna be empathetic towards your downfall? Who's gonna be empathetic towards how people treat you in the near future? Because it's obvious that you're becoming the minority. All right. And you're gonna be you're gonna be less than a minority in the future world to come. All right, because you're going into slavery. This is a person of color not protecting a white person's feelings about racism. So we got to protect their insecurities. That is mad. That's mad. That's mad. It says a fellow white person not agreeing with another white person's perspective on racism. A white person receiving feedback that their behavior or actions had a racist impact. And they do. There's certain Edomites who act a certain way in society and don't know that the way they act is very volatile towards their peers, all right, of other races, okay? And that's why we're not meant to be cohesive in this world, okay? Because Esau has been on top. They've been benefiting for centuries, and everybody else has just been, stuck in this race, this economic race, and a lot of us have been exploited and deprived in this economic race while they have always been advanced. They've been advancing. All right. One thing to point out is the housing market. We don't give a fuck, but it's certain things that it's certain things, those are just examples, because in the future world to come, you ain't gonna have no benefits. All right, you're gonna build everything, all right, with your sweat and blood and tears. All right, it says a white person is receiving feedback from their behavior or his actions had a racist impact. This is a white person being presented with a person of color in a position of leadership. Right, they can't even take, so Edomites can't even take Jake being the president of a company or being a manager or a management position. They can't take it. It says other triggers of white fragility may include that, and the white fragility just proves that you've always been, how can I say, prejudiced and hateful towards everybody outside you. All right, it just shows you're volatile and you can't. It's like kids playing at playtime, and you hoard all the toys to yourself, and that's how the so-called white man, that's his MO. All right, that's how they are, and it's very sad, but it plays to who they are. It shows you who they are. Even at the very top of the food chain, they have more than heart could wish for, and they don't want, they hoard all of it to themselves. Nobody else can enjoy the world but them, and that's when you look at their new world order, that's what that's all about. you know so it says other triggers of white fragility, and I'm gonna finish reading this and then I'm gonna go into some precepts. It says other triggers of white fragility may include situations wherein the white race is not central. You see, so they feel some type of way. Well, you gonna feel some type of way now, all right, because the Lord is reversing the roles, all right, and rightfully so. It's like, okay. It says, for example, white fragility may occur when watching a movie where a person of color is driving the story's actions or is in a non-stereotypical role. Right? They were mad as hell when they had the black character, um, and playing in they was mad at hell. They was mad as hell at this. Let me see something. What the hell? I'm sure they was mad at Billy D, but they was pissed off at this guy when he played when he played that role in Star Wars. All right, and now you see that with the new Mermaid movie that they had out. They had pissed that there's a Negro, a dark skin, a darky playing that role. They get furious. Why? Because they believe that they're supposed to be on top. And for the most part, when you have that complex, I guess it's fitting because it is your world. But this all is playing towards what the Lord is doing. He's bringing down these Edomites. All right. Okay. And so check this out. This is why they're having anxiety. Okay, because it all goes back to the scriptures. All right. This is Sirach or Ecclesiasticus chapter 41, and let's see. Let me get it in the regular standard version. Ooh, here we go. We're gonna start up a few verses, and I want to read it in the GNT. This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 41. Verses 5. It says the children of sinners, that's Esau. All right, they're estranged from the womb. All right, they don't even believe in God. All right, as you see in this society, in the Western civilization, they take God out of everything. They took God out of the schools. They took God out of their their national anthem or whatnot. And they perpetuate a decadent culture. All right, where there's no morals. Okay, that's Esau, the so-called white man. The children of sinners are abominable children. Right, but another word for abominable is detestable. Something that it's like somebody throwing up. And you're like, you're not gonna go close to that, are you? I'm not gonna touch that because that's that it's detestable. I want to touch that. It's grotesque. It's nasty. So that's how the descendants of Esau are. They're abominable children, and they that are conversant in the dwelling of the ungodly. Okay, and those that are conversant in the dwelling of the ungodly. So those that who are partakers in a sense. All right, you're also abominable. It says the inheritance of sinners' children shall perish. All right, and that's what you've accumulated over the years. Land, resources. It says it shall perish, and that and their posterity, dealing with their lineage, shall have a perpetual reproach. All right. And so, and then another word for perpetual is an everlasting, forever reproach, and that's what's happening. That's what white fragility. Uh, that's what that's about. You know, you being perpetually reproached. Okay. Another word for reproach is being corrected in a sense. All right. Very sternly. Okay. So that's what's happening. The children will complain of an ungodly father because they shall be reproached for his sake. And a lot of Edomites, they complain about what their fathers did, you know? Okay, they complain about it. Okay, all right, but that fulfills what the scriptures say. All right, it says the children will complain of an ungodly father because they shall be reproached for his sake. You see, and you know, a lot of Edomites to say this, that my father wasn't you know, or my foreparents didn't have slaves. We didn't own slaves. All right, but when you boil it, when it all comes down to it, the so-called white race of people have always benefited from mistreating the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. You've always benefited from mistreating us at the highest levels. All right, and looking at us and treating us like we're nothing. You have benefited from it. All right, and you've gained a certain confidence and a certain walk and a certain talk. All right, in your endeavors and in your plight, which made life easier for you. So guess what? Life is a lot more harder now because the truth has come out. All right. It said the children will complain of an ungodly father because they shall be reproached for his sake. Woe be unto you, ungodly men, which have forsaken the law of the Most High God. For if ye increase, it shall be to your destruction. That's right. To those who don't uphold the laws and this certain standard, which, you know, you got the justice system in America and the Western civilization, which, you know, they put their right hand on the Bible, but they don't live by any of its tenets. All right. They don't live by any of its tenets. All right. Which makes them hypocrites at the highest levels in society. And that's why this place, what it says, it shall be your destruction. That's why this place is corroding from the inside out, and is due to your insubordination, the sins of your youth. All right. Because you've always been evil. You always had a malicious heart. All right, and an evil intent towards everybody outside of who you are. All right, and if ye be born, ye shall be born to a curse, and if ye die, a curse shall be your portion. And that's what's about to happen to you, Edomites. All right, you're gonna inherit a curse. All right, and that's you're gonna wake up in slavery. All right, after you're gonna be destroyed here in America on the Western civilization by your own weapons, by way of thermonuclear destruction. You built them. All right, and you're finna use them on yourself. You're finna shoot yourself, as they say, cheddar bob yourself. It says all that are of the earth shall turn to earth again. So the ungodly shall go from a curse to destruction. Yep. Yep. That's pretty much on that. That's all on that, right? This is Habakkuk chapter 2, verses 9. 2 verses 6. It says, shall not all these take up a parable against him? Let's start at 5. Habakkuk chapter 2, verses 5. It says, yea, also because he transgresseth by wine. This is your philosophy. The wine represents your philosophy. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell. So no matter where you go on earth, you bring death and destruction. All right, so the wider your desire becomes, the wider destruction and hell follows. All right, and is as death and cannot be satisfied. All right, and that's the nature of the so-called white man. Is wanton, undisciplined, very, 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 very volatile. All right, very volatile, very violent. All right, in the world, why you cannot be satisfied, but gathered unto him all nations. All right, that's why you created the NWO, the New World Order. Okay, because you want everybody, no matter where they at, they gotta, you know, go by what you establish. Okay, and heapeth unto them all people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him? Right? All right. So another word for parable. Here, let's look it up real quick. Another word for parable is a saying. All right. Another word for parable is having a moral for instruction. A saying or story in which something is expressed in terms of something else. That's right. So it's a parable. All right. A saying or story. Okay. So not all these things that you have done, shall they not take up a parable against you, against him? All right, which is Esau, Edom, and a taunting proverb against him, and that's the taunting proverb. That's why you get anxiety when the topic of racism and somebody else's plight comes up about what you've done, about what your foreparents have done, and what your race have done to people. It's a taunting proverb against you, and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. Right? You even being reproached about taking the land of America, taking over a landmark that's not yours. You see? And that's happening. All right. Woe to him that increaseth that which is not his. How long? Right, because that's what we're praying to the Lord. It says, and to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. The thick clay is the Hebrew word for thick clay is a ibatyat, which means debt. And that's solely pointing to the so-called white man Esau. It says, shall they not rise up suddenly that shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them. Right. So you're going to be a spoil. All right. To the residue, to the rest of the world, all of those that you have spoiled, and mainly the children of Israel, right? Because thou hast spoiled many nations, meaning taken. You have taken many nations, right? You got the British that took over China, India, all right, Pakistan, Japan, right, and then you got which, Britain. They represent the Western Edomites anyway. All right, they took over Africa. Hell, they took over America, Australia. They took over all these realms. They took over all of these continents. Right? You have spoiled many nations. All the remnant of the people shall spoil thee because of men's blood. See, you shed men's blood, right? And for the violence of the land, of the city, and of all that dwell therein, woe to him that coveteth an evil covetousness to his house. And that's what Esau has done. You have coveted evil covetousness to your race of people. All right. Here's the word covet, right? A desire or wish for inordinately. So it's not natural. All right. So it's a wish for inordinately, or without regard for the rights of others. You didn't care when you took over the land. All right. You do not care. All right. You have your plight has always been inordinate. All right. Without regard for the rights of others. You see, and that's the plight of the so-called white man Esau, Edom. Okay, that's why you can't tell him shit, and that's why you gonna have to listen to that reproach. That's now the Lord not gonna have to step in, because you ain't listen to nobody. Scriptures say what? The deaf adder that stoppeth his ear, that won't hear the charmers. Charming never so wisely. All right, you ain't trying to hear anything. So guess what? The Lord has to reach out and touch you now. Okay, this is woe unto him that coveted an evil covetousness to his house, that he may set his nest on high. And that's what Esau had done. You gained riches, you exploited many, and you have gained wealth. All right, that he may be delivered from power. What it says, from the power of evil. Right. So give me a second.